Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian owned, not to control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening, replay. Always appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault, episode 664, 508 C1A versus 501 C3. And this is an episode that, we definitely was done by request. I appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay, all the longtime listeners, as well as everybody that, is new and wants to know more about this subject. We don't claim to be legal experts. We don't claim to be financial advisors, people that they go get licenses to sell products. We are business people at the Vault. We deal in the private. We are operating in the way in which we're going to go over with today that sheds a little bit more light on this subject because we've had trustees come through for years and they'll always say, well, sure, I have a 501, 508 C1A, and do I need to have that in trusteeship and in trust system in general? So we're going to do our best to give clarity on this subject today. We've had trustees reach out to us for years. Oh, do I need a 508 C1A? And we just have to clarify for you all, ladies and gentlemen, that we are in business at the Vault. We have no problem with saying that we are into capital, we are into money, we are into financing, we are into growing estates. When people come to us and say they want to pass along an estate, a 508 C1A is not an estate. It's not an estate. So people are trying to take their social security number. If you're in your right mind, how are you going to take a government number and then try to say that is tax exempt because you started a religious organization? Who are you working for? You working for the man or you working for the Lord? The internal. Because that's not in commerce. Spirit is not in commerce. When we know business, we understand that it's a fiction, it's a corporate fiction, it's a dead entity. So how are you interjecting your religious belief, into commerce? So when people come to us and they say, oh, well, I'm doing the 508 C1A, we Google, we can search it on the sites. It says it is exempt for certain religious organization. It exempts certain religious organizations from filing. Associations of churches. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, we got people that come to us and say, oh, Trust Christian Revolt, I got a 508 C1A. Oh, what is this? A 508 C1A. It's tax exempt. It doesn't have to file. Okay, cool. Great. Appreciate you guys for letting us know that. We are at the Vault. We deal in private family foundations. That's not what we're talking about at the Vault. Oh man, I was misled. I didn't know that what's wrong with the 508? Tell me the difference between the 508 C1A and the 501 C3. Okay. It's not private. The 508 C1A is not private. The private family foundation is private because it's in trusteeship. There is a public foundation that files corporate. So there are some differences. What is a 508 C1A? Is it a corporate? Is it a trust? Most people don't say it's a trust. They're claiming it for tax exempt religious purposes, correct? And so we have people come to us and they say, oh, I want to claim with this. They want to use this 508 C1A. Well, if you're going to move in that fashion, ladies and gentlemen, perfectly fine. We've never shunned against it. We have trustees that have done it for years. We are perfectly comfortable and happy for people that have religious organizations, ladies and gentlemen. What we work with our trustees at the Vault is for business purposes. So people in business have tax liabilities. People in business want to invest from certain positions. The benefit of private family foundations, it actually is set up for business purposes. It's out to grow investments. It's not just a church. It's not a religious organization. It's not just that. Private family foundations, the ones that we operate, cover actually religious organization as well. So it covers charitable, scientific, educational, religious, and research. development. What happened? The internet confused people. Oh man, if I'm gonna give me a 508 c1a because I'm gonna claim I'm a religious organization, so I don't have to deal with taxes. That's not the vault. We're stating what we've heard through consultations. I don't work for the man. Yeah, you do. Did you get in your car and go to work today? Yeah, you work for the man. Just because you put a number on the paper that says you're working for your Lord and Savior, fair. But you still, the employer is filing unemployment taxes against you. So how are you going to put what is this, a religious organization number down? Then we got people that say, oh, well, I hold the religious organization in my portfolio. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we come at it from the perspective of finance, not religion, because that can get a little offensive and convoluted and hairy, and there's no need to do that. We are not just talking about a faith based organization, we're talking about something that has a broader scope when we talk about private family foundations. And so, even that's traditionally what we talk about at the Vault. But if somebody wants to say, oh, 501c3, 501c3 is available for most organizations that aren't churches. So, what happens when you claim that you're a church, but really the only reason you applied for a 508c type designation was so you can get tax exempt? And then we got people that come to us and say, oh, okay, I got to step my game up. I got to go 501c3. Why? Because it's more general. It allows me to do more. It allows me to stay private. It doesn't say that you're private just because you're a church. It says you don't have, it says there are things that they say about the filing. It doesn't mean that it's private. There's a difference. What protects the church? Is it a trust? Most people don't know that. Most people don't share that with us. They just say, I have an entity that's a 508c1a. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, when you come to the vault, you have specific training, you have specific consultations. So when it comes to the 501c3, very, very specific to your situation. 508, most trustees or most people that come to us with a consultation, they'll just say, I got a 508c1a. Isn't that, can I do stuff from there? First of all, it's a religious organization, so it's going to be very limited in the capacity in which it's supposed to operate. How are you going to invest with a church? Oh, you could do that Trust Christian Vault? Really? We don't see the largest holders as churches. They're usually more generic at 501c3 status. Another thing. Well, we'll continue. So, okay, if it's not a church and it can do more, what can it really do? Well, it protects the parties. It protects the family estate. You have the attorney general for it. Most organizations that are large that can give you money as a charity are 501c3s. They're not churches. So if you want some money, oh man, Trust Christian Vault, I want my 40 acres and the mule. I want my free money from the government. All right. The government has set up a system, quote unquote, or the system, the government and system has a system that's set up that says if we don't do charity, there are people that can do charity. This is the government now. They say if we don't do the charity, the people can do the charity. 501c3. Very generic. Not a church specific organization. Why does it have to be church specific organization? Because whoever started it, that's all they wanted to do. They didn't want to invest. 501c3s are general to a degree, and as well, the larger organizations are 501c3s. So they give to other 501c3s. We rarely give the 508c1as. Why? Because it's a church. How much expansion can you do? It's not that much investment opportunity. It's not even supposed to be an investment. Hold on, but you can make investments from 501c3s. It just says it's tax exempt. When you do proper research, 501c3s are investment vehicles. No way, Trust Christian Vault. Last time we checked, colleges are 501c3s. The NFL is a 501c3. The NBA, these are charitable civic organizations. What are we talking about? They're not claiming 508 and they making billions. But we got people that reach out to the vault and say, oh, I got a religious organization. Why do I need a private family foundation? Well, because there are other organizations that are 501c3s, and they will give, if you have a 501c3, significant amounts of cash. Because sometimes, let's say, for example, it's no, it is what it is. Say you run into like the Rockefeller Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Carnegie Foundation. These are foundations that they have excess billions of dollars. And so they cannot do every cause that comes up that they may or may not care about. And so, and they also have obligations. Even in the private family foundation, you have a 5% distribution that has to be done every year to other charities. So it encourages the 501c3s to actually use the money for charity and not just for investment purposes, because they could just use it for investment purposes, but they don't. Whereas a 501c1a is a church. Are you aware of how to engage with that entity when it comes to investing? When you come to the vault, you get in trustee training. When you're in trustee training, we expose you to resources that can help you out with understanding what are excess business holdings. See, how are you going to hold a for-profit company by a charity? Those are things that we have to ask ourselves, and those are things that you ask a professional as well. So some people come reach out to the vault and say, oh, I got a 501c1a. Okay, it's this tax exempt charity. I mean, a tax exempt church. Okay. Well, what are you doing with that? Do you even know how much money you can deduct? Oh man, Trust Christian in the vault. Well, we've had people reach out to the vault and have uh, they have charities, but they don't have a foundation. So some of them may say, "Oh, I could put more into a public foundation," but you're not going to be able to be in control of it. These are things that we talk about on the consultations or on one-on-ones. It's as simple as that. So, oh man, I want tax exempt status. You did. You got it for a religious organization, not an investment vehicle. So when people come to the vault and they say, oh, I thought I was in an investment vehicle like the foundation. You're not. It's a faith-based organization. Does that mean it's supposed to be investing? Can it invest tax-free? Oh, I think I could do that. Nah, when you come to the vault, we're clear on that. We're clear with our trustees. We put them in contact with very successful people in our environment to continuously grow the assets of the family estate. And in turn, how does that work? That means you go by, how do you start? You start by getting in rooms with other families, quote unquote, foundations, and traditionally they're foundations. They don't claim that they're 508c1as. They claim that they are 501c3s so they can give their donors the tax exemption. And as well, they understand the 5%. So 5% goes to another foundation and they can receive other foundations 5% as well. So we're very much so on the same page. We work together. Foundations traditionally work together. We do have a few other organizations, style of entities that we work with. For the most part, though, 501c3s are it's just a designation. Once again, you can go as a public foundation or you can go as a private foundation, and in turn, those things change the way things are stated and done in general. And so it's very important for us to be on the same page with, people that reach out. We're doing this episode for people that reach out and say, oh, I have a church, or I have a 508c1a. Okay, can you invest from that position? Once again, the foundations that we operate, they're private. How is the church that you're operating as a religious organization private? Oh, I'm going private, Trust Christian, but somewhere in here, I'm going to mix in the 508c1a. Okay, sounds good. We're just setting the record straight for the families that reach out and say, oh, well, when you talk about charity, quote unquote, we're talking about private family foundation, not, oh, well, you just go get a charitable remainder trust. There are people that was used to be the cup of the tea of the day back in the day. Now we see this come across our table a lot, 508c1as, and it's, well, that's a faith-based religious organization. Oh man, you trying to run a church? Does that mean you can invest with that? Can you? What can you do with that? Oh man, I don't know exactly. And so we work with a lot of families that end up making that conversion uh, because they understand the difference that there is no benefit in the other entity, and they understand, okay, I can still maintain my privacy. The family state can still maintain their privacy, and in turn, we can grow the family estate privately. And the Private Family Foundation is not a religious organization. This is another thing we wanted to talk about. Is a lot of people think, oh man, they call it nonprofit, nonprofit. The Guggenheim Foundation. First of all, the Carnegie Foundation is not. Is it a nonprofit? Looks like they making money. Is the Rockefeller Foundation nonprofit? Looks like they're making money. So what would be the difference between you and your family on that aspect of it? You go in the right vehicle. The right families are in the right vehicles. Yep, we get so many families that reach out and say, "Oh man, I'm gonna do the Private Family Foundation. I'm gonna do the 508c1a," and then they find out that that's not ladies and gentlemen. Even in the rooms that we're in, with that we encourage our trustees and we take our trustees in the room, ladies and gentlemen, we're not walking into church rooms. We're walking into capital raising rooms. If you all have businesses, if you all have, first of all, charity is a business, so we don't claim it as a nonprofit. Charity is a business. It's a business. Just like people want to, oh, I'm going to file for the church. You're going to file for the church, but is it a business? Because then you're saying it's what? For a profit. The only thing is, no one said that 501c3 was nonprofit. People try to claim that term to 501c3, but how is that so when the largest organizations are making money and they're paying their board members? So where is the nonprofit aspect of it? It is a determination so it can be tax exempt. Simple as that. 508c1a is a religious organization. 501c3 is a business organization that's legally allowed to get tax exemption. We'll repeat again. It is a business entity. These foundations are business entities. Private family foundations are business entities. Now, oh, Trust Christian, it's a nonprofit. So that means it's not going to what? It's not going to make money. What does that mean? You're not going to make money in the venture? So many have it confused. Oh, I'm going to get a 508. C1A is a religious organization. Isn't that enough? How? We're in a room where the organizations that are given to each other, 5%, are 501c3s. If you don't have that vehicle, you're closing yourself off from a form of funding. How are you going to get funding if you're not in the right vehicle? That's like putting the wrong gas in the car. I'm gonna go get a charity, but you're putting the wrong gas in it. You can't accept funds, and we're not saying can't. If you're claiming it's a religious organization, then there's an intent with the vehicle. The intent with the 501c3s is to make money tax exempt. You hear the difference? If a religious organization, 508c1a, is for religious activities, 501c3 didn't say it was for one specific thing. Very general. And they're here to make money. We appreciate you all for tuning in live, listening, replay. Christian at trustchristian.com. This has been a pleasure to serve for years now. We just really want to give a shout out to all the long-time listeners, all the listeners that are new. They say, oh man, Trust Christian Evolve, I didn't really know about this. This has been like a real situation. I was considering getting a 508c1a versus a 501c3, and I didn't know the difference. Well, we'll reiterate, and please double back on the episode. If you're talking about a 508c1a, which is a religious organization, ladies and gentlemen, people come to the vault all the time. Private Family Foundation. Why? It's religious. It's in the mission. But it's not limited to that. You hear the difference? It's also a vehicle for multi things, not just, oh, we got to do church work. We do have trustees that are, we actually have a trustee right now because people think we playing around with this and we're not playing. We're very serious. This is something that can change lives. So right now we have a trustee going through trustee training program and is purchasing or is inside of the foundation, the 501c3 has dog shelters. That's a for-profit business. The dog shelter has daycares. The dog shelter has they got a doggy daycare. They got a dog cleaning business. It's in the 501c3. Why? Because part of it is an animal rescue shelter aspect of it. So it's legally a for-profit charitable business. Where did that nonprofit come from? It came from poor stinking thinking. It's a poor stinking thinking. How are you not going to make money and stay in business? Oh, well, no. Nonprofit means you might have been funded by the government. How about that? You want to be funded by the government, go ahead. But if you say, hey, I'm going to open a venture that's tax exempt from the beginning, then you have a fighting chance. You have a difference in mentality. You know that you're going to do business, bookkeeping, everything proper, and it's just, oh, wow, big difference than the traditional EIN business. Of course. Because those businesses they haven't been given that exemption. What happened to a dog shelter? Why isn't that a religious organization? It's just not. It's not a religious activity to save dogs and make money. Huh. But in the 501c3, you can save dogs and make money. That's how it looks. So we wanted to set the record straight today. When people say, oh, trust Christian vote, I wonder why I would do a private family foundation as opposed to a public foundation or a 508 c1a. Well, Superior, largest organizations in the world, are 501c3s. Fortunately and unfortunately, which I want to say, y'all want to say the NFL, y'all want to say the NBA. Isn't the government a 501c3? The government's not a religious organization. Isn't it a tax exempt? Who's taxing the government? Nobody. Are they making money? Yes. That's why they try to use that term out there for people, nonprofit. So it looks like they're not making money. Now, the government don't went so far as they put debt on the books. You can do that in a charity. Isn't the government charity? It's welfare. Everything they create is welfare. Everything they create, they take from someone else and give to someone else. That is a charity-based mindset. But the politicians look like they making money. They wear suits every day. They riding around in black SUVs. Gas paid for. They're not claiming religious organization. We all have different religions, but when it comes to specific activities that are for the betterment of the people and as well lighten the burden of government, we can do that in scope. We can do that in scale at 501c3 status. Challenging to do that just as a church. What if we all don't have the same religious beliefs? Then it would be challenging for people to give and receive. Some people may say, oh, I'll argue that point. Well, go ahead. But we know charity can get done in various different ways and not limited to a religious belief through 501c3. Because 508 limits it to religious belief activities. It says that. But we already know there's a difference, ladies and gentlemen. There's a wealthy mentality and there's a poverty mentality. That's it. We don't see a lot of churches 501 CAs give it whatever it is, it gets annoying at one point to say it. It's like we don't see them given to major organizations, but we do see major 501c3s given to other 501c3s. They could give to your 501c3 because they have an obligation. We have obligations still. We're not just here hoarding money as people would like to think in charity. No, we actually have to pass something along to others. And in turn, if we say we're doing charity, that means that we're actually going to do charity, which means give money away to other charities. You hear the difference? We can hold on to the capital, but there's just rules in place. And thank you to the originators and founders that understand that charity is important. Investing tax-free is important. Growing the family estate tax-free is important. That's the bottom line. Lightening the burden of government, that's important. Working together, that's important. Regardless of your religious belief, That's important. Sure, they got a 508 c1a designation for churches, religious organizations. And then we have a very generic designation for us that fall under charitable activities that does not mean that we are not for profit. Just means we got a designation. You can use it for many different purposes then. For the charitable purpose in specific. That doesn't mean that that venture doesn't generate millions and billions of dollars a year. So we appreciate everybody that tunes in live, listens in the replay. This is the Vault episode 664, 508 C1A versus 501 C3. Could have been a question of for-profit versus nonprofit or religious charity versus a nonprofit. And ladies and gentlemen, if it's nonprofit, then that means it's not making any money, correct? Oh no, that means it's tax exempt because that's what it means. If they really want to go there, because that's what they imply a lot of times, and they really want to say that it's tax exempt. That's what they say. They'll come to us, oh, I got a 508 C1A, and that means it's tax exempt. Okay, can you invest from that vehicle? They're not sure usually. Do you have an obligation to give any money away? No. Okay, so how much money can you put in that entity? Because we understand the purpose of private family foundations to pass along generational wealth. See, people want to come to us and they talk about generational wealth. Generational wealth has a system. There's a system to generational wealth. It's not religious. It's very unbiased. It's very business oriented. It's not nonprofit. It's 501c3. So we look forward to hearing from you all. If you all want to get more details, feel free to reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. Definitely thank everybody for tuning in live, listen, replay. Always appreciate that. This episode was once again done by request. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. We know a lot of people have jumped into vehicles and they're not happy about it. They don't get the benefit out of it. Ladies and gentlemen, how are you going to be in private, but the charity that you're operating isn't private? Oh, well, I don't have to file. That doesn't make it private, right? Or does that make it private now? Does it say private family foundation? No, it says 508c1a as an entity that follows traditional religious practices and makes it exempt, so it doesn't have to file, quote unquote. That's what they're saying. You can do your research. We're not saying it doesn't have to file. We're saying that, we read this off of their website. They're saying that there's a different type of filing for it, and we're completely okay with that. We're completely okay with that. But we know one thing for sure: when we step in the room with a lot of the foundations that we work with, they're not 508c1as. They're 508. They're 501c3s, and they're actually for charitable and business purposes. You can make a loan out of there, all types of stuff. How? It's a business. It's in the business of making money, not a church. Right? Right. Appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everybody tuning in live, listening to replay. Feel free to reach out, Christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. Look forward to connecting with you all and continuously moving forward with the trustees right now. It's been a good one, actually. I got some really good trustees in the training program, multiple generation families, and actually have some really good professionals making over 6 figures plus, as well as 7 figures in business. And so just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we are, feel most likely, for the most part, will be done for sure by the end of the week here on the 10 slots that we're going to have for new positions in trustee training. Just working with a select group of people right now. So we definitely appreciate that. We'll get back to doing working with some new trustees in a while, but definitely want to say thank you for the trustees that have enrolled and that we're working with right now. Christian@trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian@trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.